Women don't want you to hear this because once you understand it, many of the games lose their power. Most men believe women love the same way men do, directly, loyally, and without many conditions. But life often teaches a different lesson. You give your time, attention, effort, and heart. At first, she is warm, kind, and close to you. Then one day she becomes distant, cold, or acts like you no longer matter. You replay every conversation, question your worth. But the truth is simple. Sometimes nothing changed except that you finally saw human behavior without illusions. Many men struggle not because women are impossible to understand, but because they expect everyone to think the way they do. In this video, you'll explore the deeper patterns behind attraction, emotional distance, testing, and confidence. Not the fairy tale version, but the strategic view that thinkers like Machiavelli respected. The idea that people often respond more to strength, certainty, and behavior than to words alone. Once you recognize these patterns, you stop being surprised. You stop chasing approval. Most importantly, you stop handing your confidence to someone else. Let's begin. Number 1, desire follows perception. Here is the first truth many men never fully understand. Men often fall in love with the person they see. Women more often respond to how a man makes them feel over time. His confidence, emotional control, direction, and presence usually shape attraction more than promises or speeches. Think about Mark, a 59-year-old retired corrections officer from Missouri. He was honest, hardworking, and raised his children well. After his divorce, he met Angela, a 55-year-old woman working at a local medical office. She laughed at his jokes, touched his arm during conversations, and brought back feelings he had not experienced in years. Mark believed her attraction came only from their emotional bond. But there was another layer. She admired his calm attitude, steady decisions, quiet confidence, and relaxed way of handling situations. Example: when Mark confidently planned their evenings and enjoyed life without seeking constant approval, Angela naturally became more engaged. Their conversations felt easy and the attraction grew without effort. Over time, Mark became anxious. He explained himself too much, worried about every delayed reply, and repeatedly asked if something was wrong. His behavior changed before his words did. As his confidence faded, so did some of the attraction. It wasn't because every feeling disappeared overnight. It was because the qualities that first attracted her became less visible. Many people describe attraction with words like chemistry, spark, or vibe. Often those words simply describe how someone's confidence, emotional stability, and presence affect another person. Machiavelli understood an important principle centuries ago. People usually respond more strongly to consistent strength than to repeated reassurance. The lesson is clear. Do not build your confidence on someone else's approval. Stay calm when emotions rise. Speak less, observe more, and let your actions carry more weight than your explanations. A man who remains steady during uncertainty is far more memorable than one who constantly seeks reassurance. The Stoics understood this long ago. Marcus Aurelius taught that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Your mind shapes your actions. Your actions shape your presence. When your thoughts are full of fear and self-doubt, people notice it without you saying a word. But when your mind is calm, disciplined, and confident, your presence becomes stronger. People respond to that strength. The important part is this: most people will never explain these reactions. They rarely say, "I feel safer around someone who stays calm," or "constant insecurity pushes me away." Instead, they simply respond. Mark eventually understood this lesson. He stopped measuring his value by Angela's mood or attention. He focused on improving himself, staying emotionally steady, and living with purpose. Example: instead of sending several messages after one delayed reply, Mark continued with his workout, met his friends, and enjoyed his own life. Ironically, that quiet confidence made their conversations natural again. He didn't win her back with arguments. He changed the way he carried himself. The lesson is simple. Never let another person's behavior decide your worth. A calm man is difficult to manipulate because he does not react to every emotional wave. Now let's move to the second lesson. Number 2, people follow self-interest. Here is a truth many people avoid. Almost everyone, men and women alike, makes decisions based on what they believe improves their life. Emotions matter, but so do value, respect, security, growth, and opportunity. People usually respond more to what you consistently bring into their lives. Many men believe, if I'm always good to her, she will always stay. Real life is more complicated. people naturally move closer to relationships that add value and often distance themselves from relationships that create stress, uncertainty, or emotional exhaustion. This is not always cruelty. It is human nature. Example: imagine a man who spends months supporting his partner. Then he loses direction, becomes negative every day, gives up his goals, and expects her to carry all the emotional weight. Over time, her interest may fade, not because she suddenly became heartless, but because the relationship now feels different. The opposite is also true. When a man continues growing, protects his peace, stays disciplined, and creates a meaningful life, people often value his presence more. Machiavelli observed that human beings often act from self-interest before they act from gratitude. His point was not to create distrust, but to encourage clear thinking instead of blind expectations. The Stoics offered the solution. Epictetus taught that you should focus only on what you can control. You cannot control another person's choices. You can control your character, discipline, purpose, and response. Once you understand that, emotional ups and downs stop control. You stop chasing. You stop begging for certainty. You stop trying to argue with feelings that cannot be argued away. Instead, you become a man whose value comes from his own actions, not from someone else's approval. That is the position of real strength. And strength, more often than words, earns lasting respect. Here is the truth many men overlook. A person's self-interest does not make them evil. Ignoring that reality simply makes you easier to disappoint. Once you understand that people often adjust their effort based on what they experience in the present, you stop expecting loyalty without giving lasting value. You stop giving endlessly while receiving little in return. You stop confusing attention with commitment or temporary affection with lasting devotion. Instead, you begin thinking like a man who understands human nature rather than one controlled by it. Now let's move to the third lesson. Number 3, hard times reveal loyalty. Every relationship faces quiet tests. These tests are rarely spoken. They appear when your situation changes, when your confidence falls, your success slows, your health weakens, or life becomes difficult. Those moments often reveal more than promises ever can. Consider Thomas, a 58-year-old retired firefighter from North Carolina. After his divorce, he met Valerie, a 52-year-old bakery owner. At first, she admired his strength, enjoyed his stories, and often told him that she felt safe around him. His calm presence became one of the strongest parts of the relationship. Then life changed. A shoulder injury forced Thomas to stop working for several months. His energy dropped, his confidence suffered. He became quieter and less certain about the future. Soon, Valerie's behavior changed. She called less often, she visited less. Their conversations became shorter and her example, nothing dramatic happened in one day. There was no big argument. The distance grew little by little until Thomas realized that difficult times were revealing parts of the relationship he had never noticed before. The challenge did not create the truth. It uncovered it. Machiavelli observed that people often remain where their needs are fulfilled. His lesson was not to become cold or cruel. It was to understand that actions reveal priorities more clearly than promises. Months later, Thomas committed himself to recovery. He attended physical therapy, returned to the gym, accepted small consulting jobs, and slowly rebuilt his confidence. As he regained direction, Valerie became warmer and more engaged again. Her response followed the value she believed she experienced. The lesson is clear. Easy days attract many people. Difficult days reveal who truly respects your character and who was attached mainly to the advantages you provided. A wise man does not fear these moments. He welcomes them because hardship removes illusion. The Stoics believed that adversity exposes truth. Machiavelli believed that observation is stronger than blind trust. Together, these ideas teach one powerful rule: never judge loyalty only by how someone treats you when life is easy. Judge it by who remains steady when your circumstances are no longer perfect. That is where real character, yours and theirs, is revealed. The truth. The people who stand beside you during difficult times are usually fewer than you expect. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca taught that hardship reveals who your real friends are. The same idea applies to relationships. Challenges often show who is truly committed and who was only comfortable when life was easy. This is not pessimism. It is careful observation. Real loyalty is not measured by smiles during good times. It is measured by actions when life becomes. Thomas eventually realized an important lesson. Loyalty is not about how many years two people spend together. It is about how someone treats you when you temporarily have less success, less energy, or fewer advantages. Those moments reveal more than 1,000 promises. Now let's move to the fourth lesson. Number 4. Respect creates attraction. Many men learn this too late. Attraction grows where respect exists. Kind words, expensive gifts, and constant praise may create pleasant moments, but lasting attraction often depends on whether a person respects your character. Respect is not something you ask for. It is something your actions earn. People naturally respect someone who stays calm under pressure, keeps their promises, and protects their standards without becoming aggressive. Example: imagine a woman cancels plans at the last minute several times without a good reason. One man becomes angry, sends long emotional messages, and demands attention. Another calmly says, "No problem, let me know when you're able to make real plans," then continues living his life. The second man protects his time without creating unnecessary drama. That quiet confidence often earns more respect than emotional reactions. Machiavelli believed that people carefully watch how others handle pressure. The strongest signal is not loud words, it is steady behavior. Life naturally tests everyone. Disagreements happen, boundaries are challenged, emotions rise. These moments quietly answer an important question: can this person remain in control of themselves? The Stoics believed that self-control is the foundation of strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that outside events do not control us, our response does. When a man loses his emotional balance over every disagreement, he gives away his power. When he stays calm, confidence becomes visible without needing an explanation. The respect rule is straightforward. Do not accept repeated disrespect. Do not chase someone who constantly walks away. Do not argue endlessly just to earn approval. Do not abandon your values simply to avoid temporary discomfort. A man who protects his dignity without becoming hostile creates quiet authority. And quiet authority is often more powerful than endless attempts to impress others. That is the Machiavellian lesson. Power begins with governing yourself. Only then can others truly respect your presence. Your strength gives people something real to trust. Men who never protect their standards often lose respect little by little. Men who enforce their boundaries calmly and consistently usually create healthier relationships. This is not about control. It is about self-control. A person feels more secure with someone who respects themselves first. Now let's move to the fifth lesson. Number 5. The boundary test. Many people, often without realizing it, test the boundaries of those around them. These moments are not always meant to hurt you. They often reveal who you are. People notice how you react when plans change, when someone disagrees with you, or when your patience is challenged. Your response quietly shows your confidence, emotional control, and self-respect. Consider Greg, a 56-year-old foreman. After years of being single, he began dating Lisa, a confident 54-year-old woman with a playful personality. Early in the relationship, she often arrived late, teased him about small habits, and occasionally mentioned other men just to watch his reaction. Greg could have taken every moment as an insult. Instead, he treated them as opportunities to observe and respond wisely. Example: one evening, Lisa arrived 40 minutes late without sending a message. Greg. He didn't pretend it was acceptable either. He simply smiled and said, "When we make plans, I expect us both to respect each other's time. Let's meet another day when we can both give this the attention it deserves." Then he politely ended the evening. The next time they met, Lisa arrived early and treated him with noticeably more respect. Greg didn't change her with anger. He changed the situation by protecting his standard. That is the real purpose of a boundary. It is clarity. Machiavelli understood that people learn more from consistent actions than emotional speeches. The Stoics agreed. Epictetus taught that a person who cannot govern themselves cannot truly be free. A boundary is simply self-control made visible. When you calmly defend your standards, you show that your decisions are not controlled by fear, loneliness, or the need for approval. That quiet discipline earns respect. Greg later realized something important. A boundary is not a wall that pushes people away. It is a standard that teaches others how to treat you. Healthy people usually adapt to clear standards. Those who refuse often reveal they were never willing to respect them. The lesson is straightforward. Do not react with anger. Do not accept repeated disrespect. State your standard calmly. Stand by it consistently. A man who governs himself rarely needs to control anyone else. And that quiet strength is far more powerful than emotional arguments or endless explanations. Respect grows where strong boundaries exist. And when respect grows, attraction often follows. Now let's move to the sixth lesson. Number 6. The power of healthy distance. One mistake many men make is believing that being available all the time creates attraction. It usually does the opposite. Healthy distance is not coldness. It is not ignoring someone. It is living a full life without making another person the center of your world. People are naturally drawn to those who have purpose, direction, and emotional stability. Many men invest too much too soon. They send constant messages, explain every feeling, change their schedule immediately, and react to every emotional shift. Without realizing it, they remove the mystery and independence that make attraction grow. Example: imagine two men. The first replies within seconds every time, cancels his own plans, and waits all day for one message. The second enjoys his work, trains at the gym, spends time with friends, and replies when he is genuinely free. Both care. Only one keeps his own life moving. Most people find confidence more attractive than constant availability. Machiavelli understood that power comes from never becoming emotionally dependent on another person's approval. The Stoics reached the same conclusion from a different direction. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that true peace comes from within. A man who is comfortable with himself does not chase reassurance. He does not panic when someone becomes distant. He stays focused on his own purpose. Healthy distance means you keep your routines, you protect your goals, you do not rearrange your life to gain attention. You let relationships grow naturally instead of forcing them. That quiet independence sends a powerful message. I value this relationship, but my happiness does not depend on it. People respect that attitude because it shows emotional strength. Another common mistake is emotional overexposure. Honesty is valuable. Oversharing every fear and insecurity with someone you barely know is different. Real confidence shares emotions with wisdom and good timing. Example: if you have a difficult day, you can honestly say, "Today was challenging, but I'll handle it." That shows openness without making someone else responsible for carrying your emotional weight. A disciplined inner life creates quiet confidence, and quiet confidence is rare. When you continue improving your health, career, friendships, and purpose, you stop reacting to every emotional change around you. Instead of chasing, you observe. Instead of seeking approval, you... That is where real influence begins. The Machiavellian lesson is simple. Never abandon your own path just to keep someone's attention. A man with direction is naturally more attractive than a man who waits for permission to feel complete. Number 7. Emotional influence works only if you surrender control. Here is a truth many men never notice. People rarely control others through physical strength. More often, they influence them through emotion. Many women are highly aware of emotional changes. They notice shifts in tone, mood, and body language quickly. Sometimes they respond to those changes without even realizing how much they affect the relationship. The problem begins when a man reacts instead of staying centered. Consider Robert, a 60-year-old retired truck driver from Ohio. He started dating Jennifer, a 57-year-old event planner. In the beginning, she was warm, affectionate, and made him. Then her behavior started changing. Some days she was close. Other days she became distant without explanation. Robert assumed every change was his fault. He asked too many questions, apologized when nothing had happened, and worked harder to bring back her good mood. Without realizing it, he allowed her emotions to decide his own. Example: Jennifer became unusually quiet during dinner. Instead of enjoying the evening, Robert spent the entire night asking. His peace disappeared because her mood became the center of his world. That is how emotional influence gains power, not because another person controls you, but because you hand them the control. Machiavelli believed that the person who governs himself is difficult to govern by others. The Stoics taught exactly the same principle. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we control our own mind, not another person's emotions. Jennifer's moods belonged to Jennifer. Robert's response. Months later, he changed his approach. When Jennifer became quiet, he stayed calm. When she seemed distant, he did not chase. He continued living his life without panic or resentment. Something unexpected happened. Her emotional swings became shorter. Their conversations became more relaxed. Most importantly, Robert stopped feeling controlled. The lesson is simple. Never build your emotional stability on another person's mood. Observe before reacting. Stay calm. Protect your peace before protecting someone else's emotions. That is quiet power. Number 8. The hidden pattern most men miss. Now we reach one of the most misunderstood parts of human behavior. Many men believe attraction depends mainly on kindness, shared history, or good intentions. In reality, attraction often follows the experience people have with you in the present, not the memories of the past. People respond to who you consistently become, not only to who you want. This is the pattern many men fail to see. Imagine a man who was once confident, ambitious, healthy, and emotionally steady. Over time, he loses direction, becomes negative, stops growing, and constantly seeks reassurance. The relationship changes, not because one conversation destroyed everything, but because the experience of being around him has changed. Example: when a couple first met, the man planned adventures, laughed easily, and handled problems calmly. Months later, he complained every day, doubted himself, and depended on constant validation. His personality had not completely changed. His presence had. People naturally react to that difference. The difficult part is that these changes are rarely explained. Someone rarely says, "Your confidence has faded." Instead, they become quieter, they reply less, they invest less. Their actions slowly reveal what their words never do. Machiavelli warned that people respond more to what they experience than to what they are told. The Stoics would add another lesson: do not spend your energy trying to control another person's reactions. Control the man you become, when your purpose stays strong, when your discipline remains steady, when your confidence comes from within. You stop chasing explanations. You become the kind of man whose value does not rise and fall with someone else's attention. And that is where real influence begins. Number 8. The hidden pattern most men miss. Many men believe attraction disappears without warning. In reality, people often notice changes in your attitude, confidence, and behavior long before you do. The Stoics understood this idea. Epictetus taught that circumstances do not create character, they reveal it. Relationships work the same way. They often expose your strengths, your weaknesses, and the places where you have stopped. Here is the pattern. When you are confident, disciplined, and emotionally steady, people usually respond with more warmth and respect. When you become uncertain, lose direction, or depend too much on someone else's approval, their behavior may begin to change. Most of the time, this happens quietly. Example: a man who once lived with purpose suddenly starts doubting every decision, constantly asking for reassurance and making another person responsible for his happiness. Nothing dramatic happens overnight, but the atmosphere around him slowly changes. People react to who he is becoming, not only to who he used to be. That is why effort alone cannot rebuild attraction. More messages, more gifts, more explanations, none of these replace confidence. What usually changes the situation is rebuilding yourself. Strength, purpose, self-respect, clear boundaries. Machiavelli understood that people respond more to visible strength than him. The Stoics would say the same in different words. Become stronger instead of becoming more desperate. Once you understand this pattern, you stop chasing answers from others. You begin creating them within yourself. Number 9. The presence that cannot be controlled. There is one quality that is difficult for anyone to influence. It is the quiet confidence of a person who knows who they are. Many people confuse strength with being loud, aggressive, or dominant. That is often insecurity wearing confidence as a disguise. Real strength is calm. It is patient. It stays steady under pressure. Consider David, a 57-year-old former paramedic from Arizona. After losing his wife, he stayed single for years before meeting Michelle, a successful real estate agent. Michelle had a strong personality. She sometimes became distant, questioned his interest, or tested his patience to see how he would respond. Many men before David. They sent extra messages, they apologized, they tried harder. David chose a different path. Example: when Michelle became quiet for a day, David didn't panic. He went hiking, met friends, and continued his normal routine. Later, when she asked, "Maybe you're not as interested as I thought," he simply smiled and replied, "I don't measure my interest by arguments. My actions speak for themselves." Then he changed the subject. No anger, no need to defend. That calm confidence changed the atmosphere. Michelle stopped pushing as often because she realized David's emotional balance did not depend on her reactions. Machiavelli admired people who could not be easily moved by pressure. The Stoics taught exactly that. Seneca believed that the greatest form of leadership begins with self-mastery. A man who governs himself is difficult for anyone else to govern. That kind of masculine presence is easy to recognize. He listens He cares without becoming dependent. He stays calm without becoming cold. He respects others without abandoning himself. People naturally relax around someone like this because they sense stability. David never tried to dominate Michelle. He simply remained steady. And steady strength often earns deeper respect than loud confidence ever can. The Machiavellian lesson is clear. The strongest position is not controlling others. It is becoming so grounded that no one can easily. Number 10, the self-mastery that makes you unshakable. This is the final lesson. Every pattern we have discussed, attraction, emotional pressure, distance, boundaries, and respect, only becomes dangerous when a man has not mastered himself. Your greatest advantage is not wealth, not appearance, not charm, not experience. It is self-mastery. A man who governs himself is difficult for anyone else to control. Most men lose their power because they build their confidence on someone else. When she is warm, they feel strong. When she becomes distant, they feel broken. Their emotions follow another person's behavior. That makes them easy to influence. The Machiavellian man chooses a different path. His values guide him, not temporary emotions. His confidence comes from the standards he lives by, not from another person's attention. He knows exactly who he is. He does not chase approval. He does not fear rejection. He does not hand over control of his life. Marcus Aurelius taught one timeless principle. You control your own mind, not outside events. Everything begins there. The moment you stop trying to control another person's feelings, you gain control over yourself. That is real strength. A disciplined man still feels love. He still feels attraction. He still cares deeply. But he never sacrifices his purpose, dignity, or judgment to keep someone close. Example, imagine a disagreement. One man reacts with anger, sends emotional messages, and begs to be understood. Another stays calm, listens carefully, speaks with respect, and walks away if his values are repeatedly ignored. Both experience the same situation. Only one keeps his power. That is the difference self-mastery creates. People naturally stop testing someone who consistently remains calm. They stop pushing unnecessary boundaries because they already know where the limits are. Respect grows because consistency creates trust. Machiavelli believed that true power begins with ruling yourself before trying to influence anyone else. The Stoics believed exactly the same. The strongest man is not the one who controls others. It is the one who cannot be controlled by fear, anger, approval, or desire. Being unshakable does not make you cold. It makes you clear. You forgive without becoming weak. You care without becoming dependent. You love without. You walk away when your values demand it, not from pride, but from self-respect. That is real masculine strength. When you master your own mind, outside circumstances lose their power over you. And once that happens, relationships become a choice rather than a need. That is the highest position a man can reach. Final lesson: if there is one idea worth remembering, it is this. The greatest victory is never over another person. It is over yourself. Master your emotions before trying to master relationships. Protect your purpose before seeking approval. Build your character before chasing attraction. A man who governs his own mind cannot easily be manipulated, distracted, or broken. That is the quiet power Machiavelli admired. That is the discipline the Stoics practiced. And that is the kind of strength that lasts long after emotions change.